The Ultimatum, presented by Frog.
It's not necessarily tragic or inhumane, nor is it an easy, happily ever after answer. It's not how some overly edited reality shows make it out to be either. It's not as outrageous a custom as many people think. It's something in between, you could say. I'm talking about arranged marriages. For those unfamiliar, yes, they do still exist in certain countries. And yes, young people may be subject to an arranged marriage if their parents subscribe to this particular philosophy of wedded bliss. I'm not in an arranged marriage. I'm not in any kind of marriage at the moment, to my knowledge. Well, I'm from Seattle, and not a lot of Seattleites are currently signing up to have their lives planned out for them by a third party. I'm also not criticizing arranged marriages. I don't know enough about them. Well, what I do know is the effect that they can have on someone who is outside of said arrangement and yet is somehow still a factor in the arrangement. Confused yet? So was I. Confused as hell. Heartbroken and frustrated more than you could possibly know. Well, here's what I can tell you. She was young and vibrant and full of fire. Her goal was to get out of New Delhi and move to America. America in her mind was adventure and independence and a chance to get anything and everything she ever wanted. She didn't have it bad in India. It was just this driving spirit that told her to go and never look back. Thing was, her parents had other ideas. So to placate them and still follow her heart, she agreed to marry exactly who they wanted her to, on their timeline, in accordance with their expectations. Then she and her husband could do as they pleased, move to America or Timbuktu if they wanted. I only know this about her because this was how he'd explained her to me. He then followed up with, "The system works. It's not perfect, but it works. You know, there are happy marriages where I come from." "Well, they may be happy," I said, "but are they passion-filled? Are they exciting? Are they hear his car pull into the driveway after work and get goosebumps kind of marriages?" "Oh, you watch too many romantic comedies." He touched the tip of my nose and laughed. "Well, is yours working? Your marriage?" I persisted. This was all over tiramisu at our 1-year anniversary dinner. 1 year to the day we first met, following a month's worth of constant texting and messaging on the dating app. And this was also about 5 months to the day after he told me he was still married, though he and his wife had been living apart for several years now. "Well, of course it's not working." He touched my arm. I pulled away. "Well, then why stay?" I said. "Because I have to, at least for now. There are kids, and my parents would never, and her family..." His voice trailed off. I just smiled, a symbol of my acquiescence, I suppose. What I wanted to say was, what I should have said was, "Okay, so you're stuck in a marriage that wasn't your choice, and you don't live together. You don't have family dinners together. You don't go to bed together. So what exactly is the point? Tradition? Appearances? Some archaic code?" I know it wasn't fair of me to say that, but none of this was fair to me. "You don't understand the culture," he told me. "Of course not. But I understand the human heart," I said softly, so soft I don't even think he heard me. So let's skip ahead a bit. Through many more months of the same conversations, a lot of tears, a couple of short breakups with me eventually caving, or rather my heart just plain giving in. He told me once that he did try to broach the subject with her one time in a roundabout way. And she just pretended that he hadn't said anything at all, promptly switching the topic to who was responsible for the week's soccer practice pickups. Carpooling conversations taking precedence over matters of the heart, though it would seem that matters of the heart weren't on the table for them any longer. "So why are you still fucking married?" I'd scream. And our vicious cycle of stuttering explanations and tear-filled rebuttals would begin again. We are now going on 2 years. Ironically, 2 years of the most fun I've ever had with anybody, outside the whole arranged marriage impasse thing. Yes, I recognize how twisted that sounds, and many a therapist have tried to redirect my behavioral patterns in regard to this matter, trust me. But he and I could laugh just by reading one another's minds. That's how completely in sync we were. And the sex? Mind-blowing. Think of it like this. A 22-year-old man reluctantly, albeit dutifully, marries someone he was introduced to only a week before. A woman who is equally hesitant to marry him. So how good, how spontaneous, how toe-curling do you think the sex ever was between them? I mean, they stay married for almost 20 years, begrudging participants in a centuries-old custom of not rocking the boat. Well, expectedly, they come to resent one another, and then suddenly we meet. As he once explained with a devilish glint in his eye, I have a lot of catching up to do, baby. He'd surprised me for our upcoming 2-year anniversary. Okay, a laughable non-occasion given the circumstances. Nevertheless, we were going away. A cabin in the mountains, just like a real couple, finally. And yes, I know how pathetic that sounds, but he was smiling and ecstatic and scrolling through the Airbnb pics on his phone over and over again, and the hot tub, the 2-story family room with fireplace, the pool table, the king-size bed. It'll be us away from the world for a while, in paradise, he grinned. I wanted so badly to believe in it. The cabin certainly did live up to its online images. It felt as though the mountain belonged to only us. The first day into the first night was amazing. I actually did see us as an us. And then day 2, it was going great. He'd gotten up early to make me his super deluxe chocolate chip and walnut pancakes. We were in a bubble that could not be penetrated by work or responsibility or, most importantly, that call. The one that I knew was coming from her. Sure enough, that afternoon, it came. I must have manifested this, I thought. All of my worrying versus staying in the moment. All of my what will happen whens. I willed her to call. I willed it. We have to leave a little earlier than I expected, he announced following what looked to be a tense conversation. He was noticeably frustrated. Of course we do, I said. Don't start, he mumbled. Me? Don't start? This was supposed to be our getaway, our moment to just be together, without... But I didn't finish the sentence. There is never a without. Don't you get it? Never. There's a temporary pause, but someone is inevitably going to push the play button again, and then it's back to reality. This is what it is. Take it or leave it. His mood had switched on a dime. Happy, doting pancake chef to now a man who was mad at the world. I closed my eyes. I dreaded seeing the words that would come out of my mouth next. Then I'd leave it. Fine, if that's what you want. He started walking to the bedroom, presumably to pack, but suddenly turned around. Don't you understand? This is my culture. I don't have the luxury of choice here. It's not just a divorce. It's eons of tradition and expectation and duty. Duty to who? I said. Never mind. He waved me off. Just never mind. I want to be with you, I said, more than I think you realize, but I can't continue on. Not like this. It's too painful. You two have lived apart for over 3 years. I don't understand why you don't just get that piece of paper and... Because I've been trying to tell you, he was yelling now, it's far from a piece of paper. It's far from one divorce or one marriage or even one family. It's so much more than that. You're right. I don't understand, I said. I would never let something like this interfere with what we have. That's because you really have no idea what this is, and you can't possibly, he said. I'm giving you an ultimatum. I interrupted, scared as hell, emboldened, angry, and anxious all at the same time as I said this. You have until the end of the year. Divorce her, or it's over. For good. Do not give me an ultimatum, he shot back. My entire life is ultimatums. Marry her or don't marry anyone at all. Stay married to me or you will never see your kids again. Don't even think about asking for a divorce or I will take everything. My entire fucking life has been nothing more than a string of ultimatums. He sat on the edge of the sofa, his face buried in his hands. Slowly, I moved toward him. His shoulders were shaking. I touched his back. What are you thinking? I asked, trying to steady my voice. I'm thinking. He looked into my eyes. This will not be worth the price. This? I questioned. You, me, us, this. Oh, I said, not knowing what else to say. What else could I say? Someone had just knocked the wind out of me. I hadn't anticipated. I hadn't seen it. What an idiot. All this time, 2 years, and I never thought that it was about me. I only saw his circumstances as the barrier to an us. I imagined it had been just about him. What an idiot I was. I stammered, unsure how to fill this void. I guess I'll go and pack. I paused, then said, I never imagined this was ever about how much you loved me or didn't love me. He sat there, not saying a word. Well, hopefully they'll refund you for one night, I said awkwardly from within my utter daze. Yeah, hopefully. I want you to understand that there's just so much. And I don't know, he began as I headed toward the bedroom. It's okay. You don't need to say any more, I assured him, and I went to pack my suitcase.